Hello, everybody. Welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty. I'm here with the second challenge over at the Counterfeit Kit Challenge group, and it's one I have never done before. This one is called the Blast Off Challenge, where we do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And here's a list of the items that we are going to be working with on our layouts, and I will go ahead and set up a checkbox as we go along with this layout. So let's dive in. All right, I've got my checkbox up there in the corner, and the first thing we're going to talk about is photos. So I start with 2 small ones, and then this one, I believe it's 5 by 7 actually, and this is a story about seeing these swift birds nest at night in this chimney at a school that has been happening for years and years, and it's a tradition around town nearby. And so I'm going to tell that story. I did have to pull in extra chipboard from my Freckled Fawn kits, as I didn't put any chipboard in my Counterfeit kit this time, and that's perfectly okay. When you build your kits, you can always pull in extra supplies from your stash. No worries. All right, when I was working on editing photos, I saw these photos and I knew exactly what piece of paper I wanted to use for this. So I pulled out that lovely bird print, and that's going to be the foundation of this layout. And I'm sorting through my papers to try and figure out patterns that will be the grounding for my photos, and I choose a few pieces. I do pull out the fibers that I have working with in this kit, so that one was easy to get straight out of my supplies, and I have enamel dots in my kit. So the only thing about this countdown or blast off challenge is the one word title. Does that mean one word title, or does that mean one word title? So I always put titles on my layout. So if you're somebody who doesn't title your layout, you might interpret it as use a word title. But since I always put titles on my layout, I'm going to challenge myself to use one word as my title, because I typically like to do longer titles, mixed font titles, mixed word titles. So I'm going to go with just one word, and it's going to be simply Swifts. And so it's not a very inventive title, but there we go. I'm going to check that off my list when we get to it. In the meantime, I am trimming down all of these patterns of papers to create that grounding mat for my photos. And I decided I don't want that piece to span all the way across the layout, because I want to see more of a border with those birds. And while I was working on it, I took that paper off screen and I stitched on it. So that is going to be my first checkbox for my fibers, and we'll get to the second one a little bit later. I'm going to go ahead and get everything adhered down to my base so that I can work on all the embellishing. As I'm working on that, I'm thinking in my head about other elements going on here, and I pull out the fibers because I think I'm going to use a tag for my title, because I have this sheet of Vicky Bouton tag papers in my kit. I am using those frequently lately to be foundations for titles and journaling and whatnot. So I'm going to do that again here with that tag being the foundation for my title. I am going to go ahead and zhuzh that title up with, you saw me fussy cutting a circular element on a scrap piece of pattern paper. So that's going to help ground my title. And here is my second fiber for this countdown layout, which is all the fibers now done and checked off. So that goes on my tag, easy. And I just chose a color and a texture that goes with the tag, and the texture feels light and airy like the birds. So that worked out pretty well. Now I'm sorting through my chipboard. I got 1 piece down. I've got 2 pieces down, and I'm sorting through. These are a variety of pieces from various months kit. I've got 3 pieces down with that heart, so I'm still looking. And then that makes 4 pieces with that little banner piece. So there we go. I've got my 4 chipboard pieces checked off, and I'm not going to do a lot of other embellishing on this layout. I am going to add a couple of these houses because this school is in the middle of a neighborhood, and it's always a challenge to find parking to go watch this event because it's all street parking in a neighborhood. And we got there a little late this year, so the parking was full. And in fact, the main viewing hill, which is a grassy hill by the school, was full. So we had to occupy ourselves in the kind of the basketball court area of the school, which is all concrete. But luckily, we brought some chairs and blankets to make ourselves a little bit more comfortable. And we still had some time to kill before the birds birds started doing their thing. So we were playing cards and just goofing off. And that is what the two smaller photos are all about on this layout. And so that is the story behind this layout. And I did add a little bit of stamping to kind of expand that title area just a little bit more. I am going to add a few more embellishments around that chipboard to help it feel less lonely. I usually like to add bits of 3 elements when I'm doing embellishment clusters. These are definitely small clusters, but they still are clusters. Because I have some vellum elements, vellaments is the new word for that, vellum elements, I am using this vellum adhesive, which is like little peel-off sheets, and you just touch your embellishments or your vellum to that adhesive, and it picks up very small micro dots of adhesive. All right, I am adding my enamel dots now after all that is down. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and I need a 5th one, and I'm trying to decide where that 5th one should go. And I do debate back and forth, and I decide to add just one more to the edge of my title. Now, you probably can add more elements than what the countdown calls for, but I went with a very strict interpretation of this countdown. So I have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 of all of those elements, and that finishes off my layout for this time. I was going to put my journaling up in the upper right-hand corner, but I like the balance of it better down at the bottom. So with all of that done, here are just a couple of close-ups because I didn't feel like I needed too many extra pictures for you. And that wraps up this challenge. I'm curious to know if you're going to try out this challenge. And if you're not part of the Counterfeit Kit Challenge group already, I encourage you to follow the links in the description and join us. That is it for this time, and I will have one more video for you later this week. Until then, have an artful day.